Formula 1 arrives at the Circuit de Catalunya for the Spanish Grand Prix, but they will be arriving without Noah James, who has officially been sacked by Ford. Now, last week, we got official confirmation that Mason Wood had been sacked by Red Bull after it was found that he had stolen data from Ford and, well, kept it for himself, really. Now, what we can officially confirm is now Noah James has also suffered the brunt of this. Of course, Noah did race last week at the Hungarian Grand Prix, unlike Mason, but this time around, none of them will now be racing. Ford have confirmed that Noah James was caught on CCTV with another individual stealing data. This now answers the question of how did somebody manage to get in and take crucial data information. What we can confirm is that data that was stolen was all to do with Ford's powertrain. Not sure why that was wanted, but I'm considering with Red Bull having the worst power unit on the grid, this might just be a reason why. Ford have officially confirmed that Callum Ilott has joined the team and he will now be racing in place of Noah James for the remainder of the season. Stoffel Vandoorne has officially been confirmed to drive for Red Bull on a multi-year deal. Of course, at the end of the race at the Hungarian Grand Prix, Max Verstappen shockingly walked out of the sport, just decided enough was enough. He didn't want to be with Red Bull anymore and decided to terminate his own contract and leave. Red Bull said they would take the time to go and find the appropriate driver, and they said that Stoffel Vandoorne has all the qualities that they believe that they need in order to succeed in the near future. Stoffel Vandoorne is very much looking forward to returning back to Formula 1 after a lengthy spell in Formula E, and he is looking to try and help progress with Red Bull and hopefully bring some glory back to the team in the next upcoming years, especially when the regulation change comes around next season. Moving on to the performances on track now, and it was Ferrari and Mercedes that were once again trading the times in practice. There seems to be a changing of the guard when it comes to teams topping practice. It used to be Audi, Jaguar and McLaren, but Ferrari and Mercedes have started to creep into that area, with them trading the fastest lap times, with Sainz crucially involved in the scrap for the fastest lap time throughout the entirety of practice. Jaguar have closed the gaps to their rivals Audi and McLaren. Jaguar have definitely been dropping off a little bit in qualifying and race trim, but this time around they feel happy that they have gained a little bit of performance on their two main rivals. Mercedes, despite topping FP1, were not happy with their overall race pace. This has been something that's plagued the team now for the previous 2 seasons. This season has not been so bad compared to last season, but it's still an issue. And Mercedes actually fear that their race pace around the Circuit de Catalunya might be pretty poor, and they think that they'll struggle to score points in this race. Teams fear that traffic is going to cause a lot of issues. Now, here at the Spanish Grand Prix, it is either a 2-stop race or a 1-stopper. The top 10 have to start on the soft compound tyres. Whether they'll be able to do it on the medium compound tyres is another matter. Those outside of the top 10, though, can start on whatever tyres they want, and it's definitely something that a lot of teams are fearing. And Valtteri Bottas was pleased with Friday's running for Renault. He felt that the car was where it should be, and he's looking forward to trying to fight his way and hopefully score a point or two for Renault this weekend. But let's go and find out. It's time to get into the Spanish Grand Prix. Hey, what's going on, guys? It is Foxydude here. Welcome back to a brand new episode of the F1 Journey for you guys today here on the channel. Today we are here for the Spanish Grand Prix, round number 10 of the season, and today is a very special race for me. If you guys have only just started watching the F1 Journey, then obviously you won't know, but as you can see on the top of my halo, this is officially my 100th F1 Journey race. We've obviously done multiple, more than 100 F1 Journey episodes, but obviously we've had pre-season, we've had trailers, so we've had other things in between that, but this is my 100th F1 Journey race, which is a brilliant milestone. And yeah, really awesome. So if you haven't enjoyed today's video, drop it a like, subscribe if you're new around here as well. And let's go on board with my fastest lap then of the session. So here we go then. Up towards the first corner now, DRS wide open. We're actually getting a little bit of time here as we now brake at the 50-meter board as we fly through turns 1 and then in towards turn 2 here. Now just flat out into turn 3. I don't need to do anything else really. Just keep the foot planted to the floor now. A couple hundredths up on our personal best lap time as we go through in towards turn 4, braking just before the shadow of the bridge and making sure that we actually make this corner, losing a little bit of time. Still 3/100ths of a second up, but we're now pressing onwards here. Lovely entry, the exit through there. But crucially, we are losing some time now, so we're pretty much matching our previous best lap now as we go through this tight chicane. We actually lost some time there. So at the moment, we're not doing a good job of things, but we just go flat out in 8th gear, and we're about a 10th of a second down. Not been a brilliant middle sector for us, but there's plenty of time to find as we break just at the 100-meter board, and we get it spot on then, and short shifting to minimise the wheel spin, and we're through. Now, as you can see here, we're going to start pressing through. You can see where we're gaining all of our time. This is where we lost it all on our first flying lap. Now, 0.3 of a second up. Not too brilliant through that chicane. I probably could have attacked that much, much harder, but the exit was superb, and that gives us an extra half a second, and it's going to be pole position for our 100th race. Here we go then, it is time for round number 10 of the season, and it is the 100th F1 Journey race. It is the Spanish Grand Prix here, and as you can see, the skies are clear. We're not expecting any rain, so we shouldn't see a shake-up in the order in that format, but nonetheless, we're hoping for a fun and exciting race. The 2.892 mile circuit is traditionally not very good for overtaking, but with these new styled cars, we might just be able to put away that traditional trend of overtaking being extremely tough. We've won 5 F1 Journey titles during our 100 races, and 15 different nationalities have represented us during our time in the F1 Journey era. The tyre performance, well, we've got the soft, the medium and the hard compound tyres, but again, all 3 tyre compounds are going to be crucial, especially the medium and the hard compound tyres. Most Constructors' Championships won is McLaren and Ferrari, with just 2 of them. Yeah, very, very even split. There's a couple more facts there for the F1 Journey. Looking at the starting grid though for the 100th race, we're starting on pole position, the perfect way to get our 100th race underway, with Lewis Hamilton on the front row alongside us. Sam qualifies in 3rd place ahead of Carlos Sainz in P4. Starting the race then in 5th is going to be Reese ahead of Lando Norris in the 2nd Jaguar car. A more improved weekend so far for the Jaguar team. Daniel Ricciardo starts in 7th ahead of Sebastian Vettel, who qualifies in 8th place. George Russell and Charles Leclerc 9th and 10th for the 2 Audi drivers. P11 is Stoffel Van Dorn for Red Bull, his first race returning to the sport, with Valtteri Bottas in P12. Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly line at 13th and 14th on the grid. And then we have got Nick de Vries ahead of his teammate Sergio Perez, P15 and P16 for the Aston Martin team. 17th is Nico Hulkenberg with Callum Ilott in P18 for his debut in Formula 1. And then it is Yuki Tsunoda and Pascal Wehrlein that rounds off the grid for the 100th F1 Journey race. So here we are then on the grid for the start of the Spanish Grand Prix. It's going to be a 2-stop strategy, soft, medium, medium. It's going to be quite interesting where we feed out in the traffic as well, because we're going to have to pass quite a few cars in order to get the job done. But this is our 100th F1 Journey race 5. Red lights, and it is lights out, and away we go for the start of the Spanish Grand Prix. A perfect getaway from us though. Hamilton not getting the greatest of starts, but we get a flawless start off the line, and we're now up into the lead of the Spanish Grand Prix. We're retaining the lead of the Spanish Grand Prix as we go for the first few corners now. Sainz, my teammate, trying to attack Hamilton there up front, but there's a yellow flag now in the background there. One of the Renault cars seems to have had a slight issue, which is a bad problem for them. I wonder which one of those cars it is. Actually, I've only just noticed that. I never noticed it in any of the edits or even in real race time, so that's how focused I was on just racing, but we get a clean run. As you can see, Hamilton closing it back on us a little bit slightly now, but obviously that is because we're not running our ERS course. Remember, the AIs for the first 2 to 3 laps will run max power, and then they start to settle down. So the gap may have opened out at the start. It is eventually going to drop down a little bit though and get very close. We go a little bit wide in towards the hairpin, but Hamilton not close enough to go for an attack though. But it retains myself leading this Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton in 2nd place and Sainz in 3rd as we go through the end of this lap now into the final chicane here. Had to take a second jab at the steering, otherwise I would have actually gone in a little bit too early. I may have been punished by the curbs. They're very unpredictable at times then, as I was readjusting the differential, because I think I changed it by accident and I didn't want to keep everything on default. I always do for the F1 Journey. But let's go and have a look at the race, so this race starts itself. So as you can see here, we just got a flawless start. There's no other word to describe it here. It was a fantastic getaway, and as we go down towards turn 1, Sainz is challenging Lewis Hamilton. For us, we're just flying through and having a whale of a time there, and that's where the contact is in the background there between the 2 Renaults. So it was Ocon colliding with his teammate Valtteri Bottas, and that caused Ocon to go around now. As you can see, look at that start from Sainz. He got a brilliant start against Sam, but then for some reason, despite the launch that he got, he wasn't able to utilise that against Hamilton. At that point there, he is in front of Hamilton, but then eventually Lewis just comes back at him. So yeah, Sainz stays in 3rd place. This is what it looked like from Sam's perspective. So he's about to see a red Ferrari there go flying through, but you can see that, look. he had such a great run through that. I wonder if he just lifted off because of his run against Hamilton and trying to slot in behind. I'm not really sure, but no matter way, it's not really helped him out, because I think Sainz technically should have overtaken Hamilton then, but he hasn't, and we move on. So that's Sam's start. He drops the position. Sainz has another look at Hamilton there into turn 4. Lap 3 of the Grand Prix now. Hamilton is still right on the back of us now as we go through to the second DRS zone here. Hamilton will enable the DRS, goes to the outside line of the hairpin as we have to defend the inside line as we go through in towards the hairpin now. We can shove Hamilton wide. Sainz says thank you very much, and that's now a Ferrari 1-2 in the Spanish Grand Prix. We managed to hold off Hamilton and allow Sainz to get through, and now we need to see if we can really pick up the pace now. And if Hamilton starts struggling this Grand Prix, remember, Mercedes, especially Hamilton, can have such great qualifyings, but then just starts to drop back down the order slightly. And let's see now if myself and Sainz can blast away here as we go on to the start-finish right now with Hamilton. Sam is in the slipstream of Lewis, and you can see here, despite the DRS from both drivers, it's Sam that's got more straight line speed. Round the outside of turn 1, doesn't succeed to the inside of 2. Hamilton takes the inside then of 3. Sam on the outside now for T4, as we can see here, Reese now in the background trying to have a look here, but Sam opens the way for a run down towards turn 4, round the outside of Lewis Hamilton. Sainz there you can see is now clawing all over the back of me here, and Sam is up into 3rd place now. Hamilton drops to 4th, lap 5 of the Grand Prix, and you can see here that myself and Sainz are building a gap between myself and Sam. But crucially, Sainz is not staying away. He is right on my back, and I cannot shake my teammate here as we go through turn 3 here. Sainz gets very close now towards the inside line. He goes to the outside, though, of turn 4. Tries it. We have to try and cover it off. Sainz bluffs us beautifully there. Sainz is through into the lead of the Spanish Grand Prix. It's his home Grand Prix. He is the only man that can try and satisfy the home crowd, and he is into the lead then of the Spanish Grand Prix. As he went towards turn 4, he was on the outside line, and eventually he sort of backed off away from the outside. I then went too late to go into the outside, and yeah, Sainz just dummied me there as we go in towards the hairpin. We've broken a bit too late, and we've broken a bit of our front wing end plate there. We got too close in the closing speed there to my teammate Carlos Sainz, and on our pit entry lap, we've damaged our front wing end plate. We're going to have to box and change that. So what I was about to explain with my poor defending against Carlos Sainz, it's gone into poor offensive against Carlos Sainz. The move was never on there, but it was just like a complete lack of concentration. And we've broken our front wing now, and crucially as well, we've just lost 2 places in that. We lost a place to Hamilton, and we've lost a place to Sam, but annoyingly now, we have to change that front wing. So what was initially a good start to our Grand Prix has all of a sudden just spiraled out of control into something poor. That's just such a poor error of judgment from myself. We got a much better run into the hairpin to Carlos Sainz, but I just missed my braking zone, and rather than just going to the outside and just running wide and accepting maybe having Sam right on my back, for some reason I just went to the inside, and I don't know why. Like, in the heat of the moment, I mean, hindsight's a wonderful thing. I should have just gone to the outside and I would have been fine, but I went to the inside thinking that Sainz would turn in and we'd be fine. And I wasn't, and I've lost my front wing end plate, which does mean now we've lost out to Sam, Hamilton. Well, we've lost out to pretty much everyone now in this race. We're attacking Esteban Ocon here in the Renault. Of course, he spun at turn 1, and we're through up now into, I think it's like 19th place, because everyone else obviously is either A, not pitted, or B, are doing the 1-stop, so we need to be careful of those guys doing a 1-stop in this race, especially the other Renault car and the Porsche that are up front. They've got quite a margin here, but we're on board here with my teammate Sainz, who's under pressure now. Sam's got a free run at Sainz, of course, remember, because we're now out of the equation here. Sainz defends nicely on the inside line. Now towards turn 4, this is where a lot of overtakes seem to be shaping up here now as they go for it. Sam tries to have a look down the inside of turn 4. Sainz to the outside of T4, and he should be able to hold off to the position quite nicely, and he does so. Sainz stays where he is in a net P1, but of course at the moment, the more that these guys scrap, the more that it's just going to suit the Porsche on the Renault up front. Lewis Hamilton now on board with here. He's got Reese behind him on the start-finish rate. However, he might just have Reese in front of him in a minute if he's not careful. Round turn 1. Once again, it seems like the AIs are struggling to get their moves done into turns 1 and 2. So they're setting themselves up in turn 4, but this time Reese is too far back to have a run at Hamilton. Hamilton stays alive for a little bit longer as we're on board here now. Once again with Carlos Sainz, who's caught up to Yuki Tsunoda in the Red Bull as they go down the start-finish rate here. Obviously, in this Grand Prix as well, there is Stoffel Van Dorn up ahead. Of course, Verstappen out of this season now. He left Red Bull. He's walked away from the sport. Whether he'll come back again is another matter. Whether any one team will want to sign him again, as we've got Pascal Wehrlein trying to go down the inside of Van Dorn. Van Dorn does very nicely defending against that position as Sam now goes up the inside of Yuki Tsunoda into turn 4, and he should get that move done. Round the outside, Tsunoda will try and fight it down the inside in that Red Bull, but unfortunately, the Red Bull is a backmarker car at the moment, and there's nothing they can do about it until they get a better power unit in, and unfortunately, it's just going to get even worse because Tsunoda gets overtaken by Lewis Hamilton, but also by Reese, but crucially, Reese got his overtake done down the inside, and Reese gets a double overtake then, so Reese up ahead of Hamilton, now ahead of Yuki Tsunoda as well. He can start to pressurize Sam up ahead, and also Carlos Sainz. There I am in the background of all of this as we see Lando Norris now attacking Yuki Tsunoda. Daniel Ricciardo got past Tsunoda on the start-finish straight. Tsunoda is just a sitting duck every time there is a straight line on this racetrack, which unfortunately, racetracks have straight lines, and it's not going to help out Tsunoda or Van Dorn for that matter, but Stoffel seems to be coping a little bit better than that. You can see Sainz has actually put some pressure on Pascal Wehrlein. Of course, Wehrlein was attacking Stoffel Van Dorn, but not for much longer, so Stoffel really is being able to hold on in there. So we've got Callum Eilert just up ahead there. Sainz now gets around down the inside there, and that'll hopefully cheer up some of the Spanish crowd as Sainz starts to blast his way through the traffic. Sam now needs to pass Pascal Wehrlein as soon as possible here if he needs to keep up that pursuit on Carlos Sainz. Otherwise, Carlos will have a free run. Callum Eilert and Stoffel Van Dorn now onto the start-finish straight here. Sam has got a great run. Very close now in the slipstream. He's forced Pascal Wehrlein out of the slipstream of Carlos Sainz. Now to the outside of turn 1. Sam round the outside of Pascal Wehrlein. This might mean an overtake into turn 4. Perhaps if he doesn't make it stick. No, it's fine. He can make it work for himself. Reese now is trying to hover and have a look as we see Carlos Sainz up ahead now attacking Van Dorn here in the Red Bull, and he gets around the outside. Wow, fair play. That was a very easy move for Carlos Sainz on Stoffel Van Dorn. Ricciardo locks up then. That 13th of the Grand Prix, I'm back on board with myself here, and just trying to, this stint really was just catching back up to everyone. The biggest problem I've got, look at this, we're going into turn 1, look at the mini-map. That Renault of Valtteri Bottas and the Porsche of Nico Hülkenberg it is now are miles clear. That's a big concern because we both have to stop again. So that is, in theory, that's the gap between myself and Bottas for the race lead. That's a lot. I don't know if I can even close that down in the time. So at this stage of the race, I was trying to close up the gap, but I was realising as the laps were piling on that even Carlos Sainz, to an extent, it's a long way back now from Bottas and Hülkenberg up ahead, as Sainz now is going to go past Callum Eilert down the inside of turn 1. And unlike any other drivers, you can see there, Callum does unfortunately accept defeat, and Sainz can move on his way. As we're now into lap 15 of this Grand Prix, and one of the other Renault cars, that's Ocon, is boxing now to probably put on the hard compound tyres. We're on to the back here of George Russell in the Audi, and we get a little bit of understeer on the exit there. That costs us a little bit of time now down onto the start-finish straight, but not the start-finish straight, the back straight, but we're going to go and dive it down the inside into turn 10, and we make the move stick on George Russell, as I was really struggling to find a way past these cars on the straight because it's just a DRS train. There's nothing I can do about it. So I'm having to try and find my fastest areas on the circuit and be unorthodox about it as we now have a look at Lando Norris here, trying to go around the outside of Vettel, I think this is, in the Mercedes, or it might be Lewis Hamilton. It's one of the Mercedes cars anyway. Norris, though, is unsuccessful. Now he's got Charles Leclerc all over the back of him. Leclerc now struggling a little bit to try and find a way through as Norris now gets around the outside of Lewis Hamilton. It was Lewis, not Vettel, because I'm actually right on the back of Vettel. There I am in the background there of all of that. Lando Norris then makes up a place now. Hamilton under pressure once again, though. This time it's going to be Charles Leclerc onto the back of him here. Leclerc in the Audi, of course. It's a bit of a shock, actually. Of course, Audi, remember, was favourites to win the title this year. So far, Leclerc is still in the championship race. In terms of the Constructors' Championship, it's not quite working out for him at the moment as Audi, as Russell has definitely been having a rough season. But for Leclerc, though, he makes another overtake as Russell still pressurising me from behind. Now we're on to the back here of, I think this is Vettel, it is. So now we've got Sebastian Vettel to try and deal with. Then we've got Lewis Hamilton to get past. Then we can get onto the back of Charles Leclerc. But yeah, we're in a whole world of panic because they're in the background there. That's Nico Hülkenberg. Now remember, Nico Hülkenberg has pitted for the hard compound tyres. So in theory, Hülkenberg is going to the end and he's right there in the background going through turns 1. He's probably about, there he is, look, about 2 seconds maybe behind us. And he's made his final stop of the race. Me, meanwhile, have to make another stop. We will be on fresh medium compound tyres. But Nico Hülkenberg is in a prime position here to win the Spanish Grand Prix if he doesn't have any mechanical problems, because it looks like he's jumped Bottas in the stops, which is crucial. Lap 18 of the Grand Prix. We're coming in now for our second stop of the race onto a set of the medium compound tyres. Hulkenberg goes through. He's in the lead, and it's by quite some margin, which is very bad for us now. But let's see if we get held up in the pits. Hopefully we don't, because of course we've got the Mercedes there boxing as well. But luckily for us, we are out in front of the Merc there, so we'll be absolutely fine. And then we've got Charles Leclerc just ahead, and I think one of the Jaguars pitted as well. That's probably Sam that's boxed for a brand new set of tyres. As we can see there's the Aston Martin of Sergio Perez, and then we've got Callum Ilott, who we're getting very close to now, coming out of the pits here. We're going to go down the inside. Had to go onto the grass a little bit then, because Ilott really didn't give me any space, and I didn't have enough time to back out of it there. So yeah, a little bit risky from Callum Ilott, but he makes it work. Lap 21 of the Grand Prix now, and this is pretty much the full pecking order now. George Russell rejoins up behind us, but Hulkenberg leads the Spanish Grand Prix ahead of Bottas. Then it's Pierre Gasly, and then it's one of the Aston Martins. I think it is Nick de Vries. That's your top four so far. Us front runners, we've been hampered here by this two-stop strategy. We go down the inside of Lewis Hamilton. It is Nick de Vries. There is Sergio Perez right in front of us now, as we're trying to attack Charles Leclerc, who crucially is actually on the hard compound tyres. So that's a bit interesting there. But yeah, there is your screen right there. It's actually one of the McLarens up ahead that's not stopped yet, but it is genuinely Hulkenberg from Bottas, from the Ford of, who did I say it was? Pierre Gasly. Then it's Nick de Vries. Then I think it's Carlos Sainz after that, potentially. I'm not really sure, but we're going to go down the inside of Charles Leclerc. But unfortunately, my move was not successful. Leclerc defends the position very nicely, in fact. All credit to him. He stays ahead. Back end slides a little bit then, as we're now getting a very rough entrance into this final sector. Got to be careful though, because of course we've still got the Mercedes directly behind us. Lap 22 of the Grand Prix now, and we need to try and find a way to attack Charles Leclerc. He's on the hard compound tyres. He's costing us time in this race, and as things stand, we're not scoring points. We're in P12 at the moment, so right now we really need to get a move on here, and we're going to go for it down the inside of Charles Leclerc into the hairpin, up into 11th place. Now the battle for P10 and P9 is directly ahead of us, with Lando Norris versus Sergio Perez versus me. So we really need to get this done as soon as possible, because then we've got Sam and the two McLarens, and then Sainz up ahead, and then it's that top four that I was talking about. Question is, can us front runners now, can we catch those one stoppers on hard compound tyres? That's the aim here, as we now go on to lap 23 of the Grand Prix here. Lando Norris gets his job done on Sergio Perez. I want to get it done on Sergio Perez as well. We dive it down the inside on Sergio, and we're up into 10th place now, dropping Sergio out of the points in P11. His teammate De Vries is hanging on to P5, but the front runners are catching. Lap 23 of this Grand Prix. Norris now doesn't seem to have the pace that we've got at this stage. We've got to try and pass him. We've still got a long way to go to catch up to the other front runners of Sam and the two McLarens, as we go for a very late lunge here down the inside on Lando Norris, but it's a successful late lunge there, and we are through and ahead of Lando for 9th place now in this Grand Prix. But again, we've still got lots of work to do if we're going to have any opportunity now of getting, well, I mean, anything in this Grand Prix right now. So we really need to be on the thick of things here as well. On board here with Nick de Vries, who is that's not Nick de Vries, that is Sergio Perez, who is passed by Lewis Hamilton, and now George Russell is going to try and see if he can find a way past Lewis Hamilton in this race. But first of all, he needs to pass Perez in order to do that. Sergio now trying to put up a defence here, but unfortunately, when you're on those hard compound tyres, there's just nothing that you can do. And George Russell says thank you very much now. So back on board here with the battle for 3rd place in this Grand Prix. It is Gasly versus De Vries. De Vries goes down the inside on Pierre Gasly. Gasly gives him the room on the outside. De Vries now tries it around the outside, but is unsuccessful. Now as they go through turn 3, this is now up to the run towards turn 4. This should be a great opportunity here, as Sainz now tries to go for it on Nick de Vries. That's a bold one. He shouldn't really have gone for that one there. Reese so close to snatching that position, and crucially Sam, who was fighting Reese actually further ahead, has lost out to both Reese and Ricciardo in all of that. So yeah, Sam has lost some positions in this race. Both McLarens have overtaken him, as Russell now tries to find, Leclerc tries to find a way past Lando Norris. Jaguar going backwards actually in this Grand Prix now. Leclerc there gets ahead of Lando Norris, which is quite interesting. Leclerc on the hard compound tyres, so one of the hard tyres are just starting to come into their own now versus the medium compound tyres for the rest of the field now, as De Vries here is under pressure from Carlos Sainz. Unfortunately for De Vries, he's lost out into the slipstream of Pierre Gasly. That's going to allow Carlos Sainz to just swoop around the outside of the first corner, and he's now going to be up into P4. Might have to do a little bit more to work for this move. Nope, he's fine. That gets him through. And now De Vries here might just try and have a look in towards turn 4, but he's got that covered off. Risto goes down the inside of Nick De Vries into turn 4, and he makes the move stick there. Now Ricciardo can go for it. Lap 31 of this Grand Prix now. We've got 2 laps to go, so no matter what, look at the gap out ahead. Either Nico Hülkenberg or Valtteri Bottas is about to win the Spanish Grand Prix. But for us, though, we've now caught up to the back of those. So Sam gets very close then to the side of Daniel Ricciardo. Have to take evasive action. Going in a little bit wide now. Trying to make it through. Contact made between myself and Sam. Back end slides a little bit. But we're all right. And we're up into 8th place now in this Spanish Grand Prix. What a hectic race this has been so far. And then up ahead now is our championship rival, Daniel Ricciardo. At the moment, Ricciardo is going to extend his lead at the top of the championship, unless we can find a way past him in the last few laps. Ricciardo goes for a move though, late on the brakes, down the inside on Nick De Vries. That's one of his trademark moves for Daniel Ricciardo. He is through, and he's put De Vries in the way of me, and that is actually a pain in the backside. I really didn't like that, but now, as you can see here, we're going to set up De Vries in towards the chicane, waste no time passing De Vries, and we're through. And now we can put on our chase to Daniel Ricciardo up ahead. Let's see if we've got the speed to pass him. Who's got the speed though? Ahead is my teammate Sainz. He's going to go for it here on Pierre Gasly. Gasly, who's currently fighting for a podium spot. It's not going to be for Pierre Gasly. My teammate Sainz back on the podium in this Spanish Grand Prix. And now all of a sudden, he's got Reese to fight with as they go through turns 3 and now out towards turn 4. Reese now going to go down the insides here and make this move stick. As he does so, Gasly loses out there, and that's a shame for Pierre Gasly. He's been doing so well on that. But on to the last lap of the Grand Prix. Up ahead, Nico Hülkenberg in the Porsche has just won the Spanish Grand Prix. Valtteri Bottas pushed him all the way, but that is a sensational race result. Carlos Sainz finishes in 3rd place. Me, meanwhile, finish all the way down in P7, but fair play to Nico Hülkenberg. He has gone through and managed to win this race. I have no idea how he's just done that, but he has, and he's won it by half a second over Valtteri Bottas. The two of them did the one-stop strategy, but crucially, their one-stopper was faultless, and they've won it. And Porsche have won in Formula 1. I don't remember in the F1 journey if they've actually won a race before, but they have now. Valtteri Bottas 2nd though. Carlos Sainz, my teammate, finishes in 3rd for his home race and also got the fastest lap with a 108.098. Reese finishes in 4th place ahead of Pierre Gasly with an excellent 5th. Daniel Ricciardo in 6th. Myself in P7 after starting from pole position. That's not really what I anticipated. Sam finishes in 8th place ahead of Charles Leclerc in P9. Nick De Vries holds on to score a point for Aston Martin. What a crazy race finish. So many teams that we don't expect to see scoring points. Renault, Porsche, Ford, Aston Martin, all getting points, which is epic, and I'm really happy to see that. Looking at the second half of the table now, it was Lando Norris who finished in 11th place ahead of George Russell in 12th. Lewis Hamilton 13th ahead of Sergio Perez in 14th. Sebastian Vettel in 15th place. Callum Ilott on his debut for Ford in 16th ahead of Pascal Wehrlein in 17th place. Stoffel Van Dorn on his debut, not his debut, but his return to Formula 1 in Red Bull is 18th ahead of Yuki Tsunoda, and then it was Esteban Ocon, who unfortunately had to deal with that spin, pretty much costing him his entire race. Looking then though at the Drivers' Championship and seeing how that's just gone ahead and messed things around, Daniel Ricciardo is now on 140 points. He now has a 10-point lead over myself. He has extended his championship lead at the top. Reese is on 122 points in 3rd in the championship. He overtakes Charles Leclerc, who is 4th now in the championship. Sam is 5th in the championship. The top 5 continue to scrap for the Formula 1 World Championship, which is fantastic. The gap is 31 points between Daniel Ricciardo in P1 and Sam in P5. We've got a 5-horse race for this championship. Lando Norris is on 69 points. He didn't score anything. Same with Lewis Hamilton. He stays on 69. Same with George Russell, who's on 52 points. For the first time this season, Carlos Sainz, my teammate, is up into the top 10 of the championship on 33 points. He's finally building that momentum. He's had a much tougher season than I have. And then it's Valtteri Bottas climbs into the top 10 on 28 points. Next race is the Dutch Grand Prix. And then the Constructors' Championship now. McLaren still leading the way with 162 points. Jaguar are on 178 points. Ferrari have overtaken Audi now. We're on 171 points. Audi on 170. There is a 3-way scrap now for 2nd in the championship, which is very interesting to see. Mercedes still on 97 points. They were unable to mount any sort of charge between myself, Jaguar and Audi. Red Bull are on 37 points. Renault are now also tied on 37 points with Red Bull. Porsche are now on 33 points. Ford are on 30 points, and then Aston Martin are on 3 points. So there's a lot of interesting battles in the Constructors' Championship. McLaren have got a clear advantage. Jaguar, Ferrari and Audi are all in a scrap. Mercedes are in a bit of no man's land. Then it's a fight between Red Bull, Renault, Porsche and Ford, and then Aston Martin are in no man's land, unfortunately. But that is it for the Spanish Grand Prix. Let's get straight into the post-race notebook and get the reaction from a sensational 100th F1 Journey race. Taking a look then at the post-race notebook, Nico Hülkenberg shocked the world with a Formula 1 race victory here at the Spanish Grand Prix. Completely unexpected, and it was more unexpected with Valtteri Bottas taking a brilliant second place, and home hero Carlos Sainz had to settle for third. Despite starting third, he had taken the lead early on, but as soon as strategy played out, it was quite clear that the one-stop strategy was the way to go, and those that did the one-stop strategy paid off with brilliant race results. Let's go and have a look at some of the other teams now. Toto Wolff has urged Mercedes to keep working hard after their poor race. Lewis Hamilton started on the front row of the grid with Sebastian Vettel inside the top 10, but that wasn't enough to get any of the Mercedes drivers a single point. And it clearly shows that Mercedes have got a lot of work to do if they are to fight at the front. Now Tom has come under a lot of fire from the media after the race as he fails to convert yet another pole position into a race win. He now had pole position at the Hungarian Grand Prix and failed to convert it. He then had pole position again here today and also failed to convert it. Some questioning whether his racecraft when leading from the front needs a lot of work, in which Tom has said he is notified that his races when starting from pole have not been good enough and he is looking to try and put those to rest later down the line, but has informed the rest of the media to stay calm and let him do the talking. Someone else that's been doing the talking off the track is Sam. He is once again furious at Jaguar for yet another poor strategy call. In the race, Sam was clearly on a two-stop strategy, starting the race on the soft compound tyres. Whilst everyone else on the grid did soft, medium, medium, for some reason Jaguar decided to pit Sam on his second stop for a set of the hard compound tyres, when the mediums could have easily gone to the end of the race. And Sam said that he is simply getting fed up with Jaguar not having any brain cells and failing to understand a simple race strategy. Very big words coming out from Sam, but there we go guys, that is it for the Spanish Grand Prix. Next time around, we're off to the circuit in Zandvoort for the Dutch Grand Prix. But for now guys, I'm out. Take care all. Peace.